All right, my friends, today is June the 9th. It is Monday. Let's go ahead and get into the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the macro, but before we do that, I need to make the point that on Wednesday we had the CPI. Yo guys, hit that like and subscribe button for me. Appreciate it. You already know the drill that I don't really care too much about which way the numbers come out, but I'm sure it will create some tradable events for us. So let's dive into the macro. First and foremost, the introductory point for macro is going to be nothing dramatic has changed. Still macro bullish. Still waiting for prices to trade higher. Key kind of follow-up point to that is going to be around the summertime chop or continuation argument. For a little while now, ever since the local swing high around 111 or 112-ish, I changed my mind and ended up, going back to defensive mode. I've been long for a while, since the lows in the 70s, and I changed the skew of my portfolio around recently. So I'm playing defense as we start to transition into summertime. I'm going to cover in really, great detail today what it will look like if I'm right on that and what it will look like if I'm wrong and what some of my adjustments will look like. But, for me, at this point, it's mostly about not giving back the money that I made in May. May was a fantastic month. I really couldn't have asked for more. And right now I don't want to be complacent and give it away. What I will say, though, is that the local strength that we've seen recently has thrown a little bit of a wrench in my plan, and on medium time frame we'll cover that in greater detail. So that's pretty much it, right? Core thoughts right now for macro are I am defensive focused. I'm very, very confident that Bitcoin is going to trade higher. It's just a matter of time before we go to 120 and 150K. It's just a question of are we going to do that in this quarter, which I don't really think is that likely, or is that run up going to really start in Q3, which is what my real expectation is. So you guys are seeing the perpetual spot bid just coming in over and over again, right? This is something we've been talking about for really been emphasizing for the past 6 months plus, but we have been talking about it for a long time before that. Spot driven market nowadays, and it's wonderful to see, honestly. So the new narrative that everybody's clinging to is going to be the combination of the Bitcoin suit bid with the stablecoin demand, right? So that's what we've got going for us optimistically these days. Medium time frame, I'm going to skip over VWAPs today because the main VWAP plans have already kind of played out. We were looking for that convergence of value, and that has played out. So other than that, there isn't really too much to say. Okay, so medium time frame, this snapback has been stronger than I expected it to. I thought that this was going to result in more like a dead cat bounce, and ultimately this is starting to feel a little bit more like one of these kind of moves where it was just kind of catching people off guard. I am, like you guys already kind of know, I'm hedged from the highs, so I'm kind of in a comfy position right now to pivot around. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into some stuff here. So the main medium time frame plan that I was working with was the kind of momentum loss argument. I did not like how weak our recent drive up was, and that was a clear sign to me to start to play defense, right? So the main plan was, are we going to see the momentum loss? Currently, what we're seeing is not really giving me that indication that momentum loss is really as present as I was thinking it was, and we might see continuation this week. So here's kind of what I'm focused on right now, right? Originally, let's go ahead and drop down time frames so you guys can see this a tiny bit more clearly. The main emphasis for me right now was paying attention to the 30-day rolling and could bulls reclaim it. Us trading above it right now isn't really us reclaiming it, right? You need to see some sort of downside move that gets defended. And if we see a pullback from this that gets defended and we hold the 30-day again, then I'm going to say confidently that we flipped it and that you want to be long. The other things that we're really focused in is just flipping the anchored VWAPs from that swing high, right? That was one of the key things that we talked about. We are currently above it. So now that we're above it, we want to see downside moves get defended. That kind of coincides with a lot of my lower time frame plans anyways. So that's pretty much it for that bit. We have it covered anchored. Okay, so what I said last week I said even though I think momentum loss is present, you want to be aggressive with dip buying. This is the point where I'm saying you maybe want to be a little bit more cautious with dip buying. I'm still a lot of my plans for lower time frame and medium time frame are still predicated around dip buying, but I'm being a little bit more cautious with it, because if for some reason this is to fail here soon, if you were to dip buy right, you're probably just going to be buying, really shallow dead cats that aren't going to really materialize into anything. So whenever this does pull back, how it pulls back will be really telling. And that's going to, again, coincide with lower time frame plans here in a minute. That is pretty much it for medium time frame, right? No dramatic changes. I really want to see as this, drives up. I do think it will continue to drive a little bit today. From there, whenever it does a pullback or some sort of range distribution, that's how I'm going to be able to gauge if I want to transition to being risk on or off, right? Because I know that's one of the big things for you guys right now. I'm still playing defense, but things look good. But in order to want to see that positioning, remember how we viewed this stuff, guys, right? I want to see the same kind of thing where either, now that we've had a little bit of an impulse move, following that, either how we pull back from it or how we build the range will give me everything I need to know about how I'm going to gamble. So please, if you're unfamiliar with that, hit me with questions or just review some of the local stuff that we've talked about, or more recently, right? Because we've been, more or less doing the same kind of strategies on Bitcoin for a while now. As far as levels go, right, this is the local distribution that's being built, right? We have that emphasized. So, you don't really want to see bulls losing, 102K, give or take. Okay, that's going to be it for medium time frame. I'm going to glance over alts pretty short and sweet today because, again, I'm not super interested in trading them too much. Again, I do have small bags on everything it's listed. Nothing has changed with that. You guys already know about all that stuff. The core talking point I want to have with alts is around sentiment, right? I think we're at a point where just altcoin sentiment is the worst I've ever seen. Your average CT participant that has never given a shit about Bitcoin is very much, interested in Bitcoin, right? The type of, real life friends I have that would have never wanted to buy Bitcoin at $10,000 now want to buy Bitcoin because their alts didn't go up, right? And that almost is telling me like a large alt move is not that far off around the corner, right? Is it going to happen this month? Probably not. But I really think, just like I think Bitcoin's going to trade up a ton later this year, I think that altcoins will do the same kind of thing. We're actually going to have an unironic, quote unquote, alt season later this year. And the primary thing for me that's making me feel that way is that sentiment is just so bad around this stuff, right? And we've seen this before where alts don't really do that well and people get, complacent with them and then they do well, right? So this is just how things go. But it's a very, very bullish signal for me when some of my real life friends want to buy Bitcoin and not alts anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the alt chat. If you're focused on alts, they're really the only ones that I'm super hyped about are gonna unironically be like hype and Fartcoin. There's a few other altcoins that don't look terrible, but these are the ones that I have bags on that I actually think look good still. Most of the coins that I hold, Bonk doesn't look that bad, to be honest. Honestly, sadly, Doge is looking worse than Bonk right now. Solana doesn't look terrible either, honestly. If you want to play it safe and be long, Solana's a pretty safe play. I'm going to go ahead and end the video there and watch my trade finish round tripping in real time. But that's just how she goes. Good luck out there this week, and let me know if you have any questions. Cheers.